I'm excited for this one. I'm actually excited for this one. I've been wanting to do this one for a while, and I was trying to do it justice, and then I think I figured out how to do it justice. So this makes sense. I'm happy to do it. So here we go. Let's jump into Predator and Dutch in Dead by Daylight. As always, we're going to talk about the maps, the moris, the cosmetics, the powers, the perks, all the good stuff we normally do. So if you do enjoy this kind of content, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I upload these videos quite frequently, and I do have a ton more ideas that I'm going to be making over the next couple of months, next couple of years. I don't even know how long it's going to go on for. You guys keep adding more and more ideas in the comments, and I keep loving them. So I keep adding them back onto my list on my phone. So I think I've got like 50 or 60 ideas now. So if you want to see 50 or 60 killer concepts or survivor concepts, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and hit the bell, and then you'll be notified whenever I get around to making them, because it does take a long time. So I appreciate the patience when I do get around to making them. But let's jump right into it with Dutch, Alan Dutch Schaefer, who has the most iconic quote of any movie ever. Fight me, all right? Fight me. Actually, maybe not of any movie ever. There are like good Star Wars ones. Anyway, don't fight me. Don't fight me about that. It is a good quote though, all right? And it is this.
Get to the chopper!
Right? And that quote is the reason why I think that Dutch should have voice lines like Ash does in the menu screen, and maybe in the game, but probably not in the game. I don't know. I mean, actually, while we're on this talking point, I don't think this would actually happen because of Predator Hunting Grounds, but that's not what these videos are about. A lot of you know that, but if anybody's new to the channel, it's not about predicting or saying this is what I think will be in the game. This is just a bit of fun to say, hey, this is what it could look like if it were in the game. Is that kind of idea? So you know, just take it with a pinch of salt and just chill about it, all right? It's fine. But yeah, he'd probably have a voice line in it, and it would just be awesome to have Arnold Schwarzenegger in Dead by Daylight. I mean, you can have him as Terminator as well, which is another idea that people have given me, but I like him as Dutch. I think he looks like prime Arnie, you know what I mean? He is like big, muscly, soldier man. It's like perfect. It is so good. He wouldn't have a gun, obviously. I mean, this is an action figure, I'm pretty sure. I think that's where I got the picture from. I can't even remember. It was so long ago. But yeah, he would be really cool. So I thought he would be cool as the main kind of cosmetic as a legendary skin would be Dutch, and then as maybe a secondary one, you could have Mike Harrigan, who is the police officer from Predator 2. He is a really cool character as well, and if they did do voice lines, I think it would be awesome to have. So they've both got really iconic quotes. I'd say go watch the movie so I don't spoil it for you, but they've got some really cool lines. Actually, the Predator series is just fucking awesome for really cheesy but awesome action movie lines. So yeah, it's a really cool source of those kind of things. So yeah, I think that this concept, I'm happy with it being just those two, just being Arnie and then Mike Harrigan. I think those would be the kind of best characters, and then you can have tons of different outfits for them, like full police gear and stuff like that, maybe, and then more like army gear for Dutch. I don't know, really. I think that would be the best way to go about it. But anyway, let's go on to the perks. So the 3 teachable perks that I've come up with for Dutch are called If It Bleeds, Knock Knock, and Ward Expendable Asset. So we'll start with If It Bleeds. Basically, this is based on the quote from the movie where Dutch is talking about how if it bleeds, they can kill it because it's obviously mortal. It's not immortal. It's not completely invincible. And that I wanted to carry that kind of vibe through into the perk. So the way this works is whenever you stun the killer by any means, their aura is revealed for 3 seconds, and this perk gains 1 token up to a maximum of 5. And then when you take damage, it removes 2 tokens. So I quite like the token perks. I like the way that like boosts you and then you knock yourself down and stuff like that. It's a nice little back and forth cat and mouse mechanic, which I quite like. So for each token on this perk, you recover from negative status effects 10% quicker. So things like exhausted effect, things like blindness, things like, what are the other ones? Mangled, anything like that, you recover from it 10% quicker. And that's basically just to kind of give the idea that you're being reinvigorated by new hope, that you figure out you can actually damage the thing. I think it's a decent idea. I don't know about balance and stuff. We don't really care about balance on this channel. We just talk about kind of ideas and how it relates to the characters in the movies. And I think it's quite a nice fitting one for Dutch. I think he'd feel like a badass when you're playing it. And yeah, it'd be quite nice. So for the second teachable perk, I really wanted to give him something offensive, like something that stuns the killer, because, I mean, Dutch doesn't back away from a fight. He's a fighter through and through, and I thought it would make sense to give him a perk that reflects that, right? So he has to stun the killer in some way. So this is basically head-on for a window vault. So if you're the sort of person that likes playing in lockers, use head-on. If you're the sort of person that likes windows, you can use Knock Knock. So you performing a rush vault action stuns the killer for 3 seconds if they are in range, and blocks the vault for 30 seconds after that. It causes the exhausted status effect for 90 seconds if the stun is successful. So yeah, it's just basically another kind of stunning exhaustion perk, basically. You know, I just thought it would work really well for him. in terms of how he is as a character, and because of the scene in the movie where this happened.
Knock, knock.
So the third teachable perk, Ward Expendable Asset, does take a bit of explaining. If you haven't seen my Pennywise concept or It concept, go watch that as well for another example of a Ward perk that I've kind of come up with. The idea behind it is that it is like a hex for survivors, essentially. So a ward is like a protective spell. So in general, what happens is that spawns in the map, and then the survivors have to activate it to get the effect. So it's kind of the opposite of a hex in that way. So you activate it, and then you get a massively powerful power, but you have to time it correctly is kind of the idea I wanted to give. So this ward appears when one survivor has been sacrificed. So it doesn't happen until quite far on into the game, realistically, unless somebody disconnects or kills himself on hook. And when this ward is activated by any survivor, the hatch spawns and remains open for 30 seconds. So that is super powerful, right? The hatch is open for 30 seconds. But whoever activates this perk is instantly sacrificed to the entity, and only one ward can be activated per trial. And I made this one because I really like the quote, which is down below, which says you're an asset, an expendable asset, and I use you to get the job done. Got it? So I wanted to give the idea that one of the characters is expendable and it's worth their sacrifice for the greater good kind of thing. That's kind of the vibe I wanted to get across. Obviously, like I mentioned, not about balance, so I know there's going to be a few really fucking angry killer mains, even though I'm a killer main myself, kind of saying this would be ridiculous, and it would be ridiculous, but that's the point. The point is it's ridiculous. It's all about kind of sacrificing yourself for everybody else, and that's kind of the idea, and I think that's kind of what I've got across. So yeah, it's one of the cooler ideas, and like I said, go watch the Pennywise video because there's probably an even stronger one in that video. So yeah, go watch that. Okay, I guess because we've done the Survivor and we've done the Teachable Perks, we're allowed to see what most of you are here to see, which is the Predator in Dead by Daylight. Look at that! Look at it! It just fits. In my opinion, it just fits. I would love to see it. I mean, the model, you know, is a bit flawed. I mean, the knees are clipping through the armor, but I didn't make the model. I mean, I think it looks pretty sick, so I would really like to see it. I haven't included much customization here because I think there would be so many options. There would be so many options for customization. I mean, if you've played Predator Hunting Grounds, you know that you can customize the skin, the armor, the predlocks, the helmet, the wrist blades. Like, you can put skins and like colors on everything. Obviously, Dead by Daylight doesn't have that facility, but there's so much scope with Predator because there are so many individuals. It's like a species rather than one character. So I think that would give so many options that it's not worth me saying myself. Like, it would be for you guys to go and look at Predator Hunting Grounds gameplay, look at those and imagine those in Dead by Daylight. I think that's the best way to go about it. So yeah, I would expect though, if they did this as a DLC, it'd kind of be a base kit of customization you could play around with. It would have to be pretty fucking cool, like not like the Blight's basic, like a few different skins that you could play about with would be really cool. And then the premium ones would obviously be ridiculously badass, and you'd obviously want to pay money for them. And some people like me would definitely spend a lot of money on the cosmetics for the Predator. Like, I would spend so much money on the cosmetics. Behavior, if any of you watch this video, I would spend so much money on the Predator, so it's worth you getting this license just so you get Ghosty Boy's money, okay? That's what it's worth it, I promise you. But in terms of like basic cosmetic overview, you do stuff like a male predator, female predator, and then you look at things like bigger, like larger tanky predators, and then like scout predators. That would be kind of the basic idea for the cosmetics, and then you've got different colors and stuff within that. So yeah, there's a ton of scope for customization, which is why I didn't decide to kind of give you guys what it would look like. I thought it's more fun to imagine and picture it, right? So yeah, let's move on to the character info. For the attributes, it was quite hard because I think that Predator would actually be faster than any of the killers, but you can't physically give it a speed boost because people would go absolutely nuts. So 4.6 meters a second is pretty much the fastest you can make any killer by default, so he's gonna have that. And then we got a 16 meter terror radius because realistically it is a sneaky creature, and I'd love to give it a 0 terror radius, but when you combine that with the power I'm going to explain in a bit, it would be a bit nuts. So I feel I'd give a 60 meter terror radius to a slightly reduced, and then you've got an average height, just because I can't really see the Predator being the same height as like the Plague and some of the other taller killers. I know it would be, like, if you go by the films and like the comics and stuff like that, it would be really, really tall, but in my head in Dead by Daylight, I pictured it a bit smaller and a bit sneakier, so a bit more like lean and agile, so I kind of gave it an average height. I hope that's okay. Let me know what your thoughts are. Otherwise, all I know is it would be taller than the goddamn Blight. Everything should be taller than the goddamn Blight, because that boy you know, he can't see over anything. So as long as he's taller than the Blight, I don't think there should be any problems with anybody. So that's fine. So the power I came up with is called the Hunt. And basically this is all based around Predator society, where they're kind of trying to seek out and win honorable hunts against worthy game. And the concept I came up with is that throughout the trial, the Predator's judging how worthy the survivors are and chooses what weapons it uses based on how many generators get completed, which is a reflection of how worthy the game is. In this instance, I mean, obviously the survivors are unarmed, so if we're going by, you know, everything that people write about Predators and stuff in comics and films and stuff, they wouldn't attack unarmed foes, but we're kind of saying this one's trapped in the entity's realm, so it's kind of making the best of a bad situation kind of thing. It's being forced to kill people anyway, so it might as well kill people as honorably as it possibly can. That's the idea I went for. So basically it reads that an honorable killer, the Predator can only use its most advanced weaponry on worthy game. The Predator begins the trial with the ability to cloak using active camouflage for a duration. So this is kind of like a Wraith clone, okay? So don't get mad at me for being a Wraith clone, because you've got to put the cloaking in there, because it's Predator. It's one of the most iconic things. You got to have the cloak. So it's got a cloak for a short duration where it's almost invisible, kind of like the Wraith, and then you can drop the cloak and attack immediately without a kind of charge or cooldown. So it's kind of different to the Wraith, but it's also kind of similar. But I think that's a fair way of putting active camouflage in the game, is that it's only for a short duration, and then you'd have add-ons to kind of increase or decrease the duration anyway for different pros and cons and stuff. You guys know how add-ons work. That's kind of how it would go about it. And then each time a generator is completed, the Predator acknowledges the skill of its prey and it increases its efforts to slay them using more dangerous abilities. So one generator is completed, you press the power button to place motion detectors in the trial. Survivor auras are shown when within range of these devices. Motion detectors persist until broken by survivors. So it's something the survivors can break, and it shows an aura. I like aura reading abilities myself, so I think this would be kind of cool to have when there's only one generator complete. You can almost set up around the map, and then as more generators complete, you get more offensive abilities. To me, that makes some sense, and I quite like it. After 2 generators are complete, you press the power button to throw a smart disc while a survivor is highlighted. The smart disc tracks the highlighted survivor and causes a deep wound effect when it hits. This power has a significant cooldown. So it's kind of, yeah, it's kind of a lock-on smart disc. It would be quite slow, and I feel like if a survivor like vaulted or went around something quite like a tight corner, then the disc would probably miss. But I thought it would be quite nice to have the smart disc in there, because it's one of the coolest weapons the Predators have. And I know in Hunting Grounds you can control the smart disc, but I just couldn't visualize that unless it was like the ultimate weapon, because it would be an instant down, because it literally slices people in half in the films. So I don't know, I just wanted to get it in there in the most kind of easy way possible, and I think this makes sense. It causes the deep wound effect to kind of replicate the fact that it's done a really deep cut, basically, is what I wanted to do, and it's got a massive cooldown. So 2 generators, I think that's pretty fair. 2 generators completed, you press the power button to throw the combi stick. The combi stick will stun survivors in place for a few moments. When they're hit, the combi stick is then picked up from the ground by the Predator after use. Exactly the same as Hunting Grounds, right? You throw the combi stick, it hits a survivor. Normally in Hunting Ground, they have to be against the wall. They have to be, I can't remember what the exact mechanics are, but the idea is it stuns somebody for a few seconds, and then the Predator has to go and pick up the combi stick to get their weapon. That's 3 generators, pretty simple. So at 4 generators completed, you press and hold the power button to knock an arrow in your bow, and then release it to fire. Arrows are collected from lockers or from dying survivors. So I kind of, with this one, I wanted to say that if you knock somebody to the ground, you can collect the arrows that you've shot into them, or you go to lockers, kind of like the Huntress. And it would be like, you know, kind of like the Huntress's hatchets, maybe a bit straighter with the bow. I'm not really sure, but I just wanted to put the bow in there because it's a really cool weapon from Hunting Grounds. I don't think they actually show it in any Predator movies, but I thought it's a really cool weapon, and I just want to kill her with a bow, all right? That's not too much to ask. I want to kill her with a bow. This is my idea for it. There you go. Now, 5 generators complete. The end game. Press and hold the power button to charge the plasma caster and release it to fire. This weapon causes splash damage to multiple survivors. I don't think there's any ability like this in Dead by Daylight at the moment. Maybe clown bottles, maybe. So the mechanic is there, but it doesn't cause damage. So I wanted it to cause damage because it's a massive cannon on his shoulder, but I didn't want it to down them instantly. I mean, I think I've I think that would be a good iridescent add-on with like a massive cooldown or a massive overheat mechanic. So I have given the plasma caster an overheat mechanic, think like Billy Chainsaw. So you have to hold it a certain amount to get it to go a certain distance, maybe something like that. And then if you hold it too long, it overheats, and it's got like a range and stuff, and you've got the lasers for the aiming. I just wanted to kind of get this weapon in the game, but as somebody commented on when I announced that I was doing a Predator concept, the plasma caster is super OP. Like, realistically, it's an OP thing. It's a fucking laser cannon, shoulder-mounted laser cannon. So you can't make it too fair, but you can't make it too weak at it. You can't make it too OP, but you can't make it too weak at the same time. So I think it's a good compromise. It's got splash damage, so it can injure multiple survivors at once, but it's got a massive overheat and maybe a cooldown when you use it as well. And you only get it after 5 generators complete. So if the survivors play it well, and they've got one person on the gate while the 5th gen's being complete, you got really quite a low chance of using this effectively. Plus, it's an ability, so it doesn't work with NOED and stuff like that. I think it's pretty justified. I think it would be cool, and I don't really think you could have Predator in the game without giving it the plasma caster and having that kind of aiming triangle in there, because it's so cool. And you just have to have it in there, okay? I'm standing firm with this. You have to have the plasma caster in there, or it's not fun. It's just not fun. Just like with the Survivor, the Predator has 3 teachable perks, which are called Trophy Hunter, Honor Code, and Hunter's Intuition. So Trophy Hunter, which is the first we're going to talk about, every kill fuels your desire to claim more victims. When a survivor is sacrificed, you gain the undetectable effect for 30 seconds, and all survivors are afflicted by the hunted status effect for 60 seconds. Now, I mentioned the hunted status effect. I think it's in my alien video. I'll put a link to that down below and on the screen. Go and watch that if you haven't already. The hunted status effect is basically survivors always leave scratch marks when they're moving. If they're crouching and standing still, they don't. So if they're kind of really immersed survivors, they don't leave scratch marks. But every other time, they're leaving some form of scratch marks. And that's to kind of give the effect that you're being hunted by an expert tracker. So I wanted that to be kind of a key feature of Predator. And I think one of you actually commented on the video that it should be something that the Predator does. And I think that's a really cool idea. And I think I've taken that idea. I think that's why it's in my head. So thank you, whoever commented that. That's a really good idea. The second perk is called Honor Code. And again, this is reflecting the honorable nature of the Predators. Hunting with respect has its own rewards. Whenever a survivor is safely unhooked, so you've not tunneled, you're not camped, you're not tunneled, you've allowed the survivor to be unhooked safely, you gain a 10% movement speed bonus until you perform an offensive action. So the same kind of mechanic as play with your food. If you miss an attack, or you try and attempt to attack someone, you lose that effect. You do gain a 10% movement speed bonus until you do that. And the cooldown's got, the perk has a cooldown of like 90 seconds, 2 minutes maybe. I thought that would be kind of roughly around what it should be, because it is a powerful perk. Like, movement speed is everything in this game, and it enables you to chase down people quicker. Obviously, you might only get 1 hit, but I'm picturing, like, if you use this with Make Your Choice, it would be so powerful, man. You'd let them get the safe unhook, then you'd be able to go to the person that unhooked and be able to get an instant down with a 10% movement speed. It would be strong, so you would need some sort of cooldown. I know I don't talk about balance much, but I do think about it a little bit when I come up with these, but it's mostly about the character. So yeah, Honor Code, I like it. I would love it. I like feeling like I'm zooming around. It's really fun. So yeah, I do that. That's a cool perk. So the third and final perk, Hunter's Intuition. Your ability to track your prey has been honed over time. I want this to be like the daddy of the hunted status effect, kind of like Sloppy Butcher is the kind of mangled and hemorrhage kind of perk. This would be the hunted perk. So hitting a healthy survivor with a basic attack applies the hunted status effect 45 seconds, which helps you hunt them down. I think this is pretty cool. Maybe you'd have to have a cooldown. I'm not 100% sure, because I'm not sure how strong it would be. Like, scratch marks can be so misleading sometimes, but I like the idea of the Predator being able to track people a bit better and giving those perks to other killers. I think that's a nice idea, and I do like the kind of I like the concept of it. So yeah, it's pretty sweet. So if you guys have any ideas yourselves of any perks, powers and stuff, let me know down below and I'll read through them. And I love reading through them. They're really great. I know one of you guys, Plasma, you always, every single time you do it, and they're always so good. And I actually try, I look at them like, I'm going to try my best not to make it too similar to this. But when you did it, a lot of you guys, you put the ideas down and they're so similar to what I've got on my head already, which is great because it means that I'm on the right track. It means that I'm looking at the film and the franchise, the characters, and kind of picking out the same bits that you guys are picking out. So it's really good. I'm glad that we're on the same wavelength, which is awesome. I like the community's kind of building in the same direction, which is sick. It's really cool. But let's go on to the Murray. Somebody commented when I announced I was doing Predator saying, we already know what the Murray is, and you're right. You know, you can't. I know I say you can't a lot. Like, you can't put Predator in and not have the classic spine and skull ripped up by hand. You can't not have that in. Like, it's boring, so I'll come up with another idea on the spot now. But realistically, if Predator came to Dead by Daylight, it would be that classic kill. Maybe a bit cooler with like a stealthy aspect to it, or the bow, or using one of the other weapons. Oh! Idea I came up with right now. Depending on what stage or how many gens have been done, changes the Mori. Sorry, DVD devs, if you want to take my idea. You know, it would be really hard to program this in and animate it and everything, but it's a cool idea, right? So no matter, depending on what stage of the power you're in, depends on the weapon you use to do the Mori. There we go. I'm not boring. I'm not doing the basic Trophy Hunter one. There we go. Ghosty boy, not boring. Happy, happy times. Now for the map, the obvious thing to kind of start thinking about is the jungle in Guatemala, where the first Predator film happened. But again, that would just be like a forest, right? That would just be like a red forest. I don't want to be boring. I don't want to do the obvious stuff. So forget that one. I mean, it would be a kind of cool environment with like the kind of like huts and stuff like that. But nah, don't worry about that. We're not talking about that one. The other idea would be maybe the cityscape from Predator 2. But again, kind of boring. Like rooftops would be kind of cool, maybe. But again, not really interested in that. So it's a bit strange and kind of controversial, but I would really like the kind of Aztec style pyramid from Alien vs Predator, or somewhere from the Predator home world. Something like that would be really cool because it's all like Aztec inspired. I really like that kind of aesthetic, and I think it would look really cool with the new graphics updates on Dead by Daylight and stuff. I just think it would be really sweet to have kind of nice like small pyramids, like chambers and stuff like that, and then massive wide rooms with lots of loops and stuff in them. If you haven't seen Alien vs Predator, go watch that and you'll get an idea for what I'm talking about. There's a lot of different kinds of rooms and stuff in that pyramid, and I just think it would look so goddamn cool. It would be really cool to put into the game. All right, that's the end of the concept. I really do hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe, and share to your friends and all that kind of stuff. You can tell like, I put a lot of effort into this one. It took a lot of time to make because I swapped the background out for the Blight. I got the model for the Predator, had to animate that and stuff like that. It was a lot of work, and I think it turned out pretty well. So thank you guys so much for the support on the previous videos to kind of inspire me to keep pushing forward and working harder on these. It's really hard work, but when it comes together like this, I think it really does pay off. So there are going to be 2 polls on my community tab. One is going to be about what the next killer should be after my next video, because I know what the next video is going to be. So it's the one after that, if that makes any sense. And then secondly, there's going to be a poll about where I should stream. Should it be YouTube? Should it be Twitch? I really want to know what you guys think, because I'm not 100% sure. I've streamed on Twitch before, but never on YouTube. I want to know if you guys have a preference and if you'd even watch me stream, because I imagine a lot of you guys kind of would chill and kind of chat with me on stream, so I'd really appreciate your feedback on that. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you in the next video. Goodbye.